Tiffany was an icon with a fading shine. The robin egg blue box still meant celebration, but growth had stalled, tourists carried too much of the sales mix, and the brand felt more museum than magnet. You could still propose with Tiffany, you just weren't hearing people brag about it the way they used to. Across the Atlantic, LVMH looked at Tiffany and saw more than a jeweler. It saw an anchor, a way to dominate watches and jewelry the same way it already dominated leather, fashion, and champagne. If you own the blue box, you don't just sell rings, you set the stage for a global habit. The approach started like most big LVMH moves: quiet, disciplined, and all cash. In late 2019 the offer landed, rich enough to be flattering, serious enough to be real. Negotiations stretched on. Tiffany's board had to defend a heritage brand and a future plan. LVMH had to justify paying top of market for a company that needed work. Eventually they signed in the $16 billion range. The market nodded. It felt inevitable, another crown jewel joining a house that collects icons the way others collect art. Then the world stopped, borders closed, airports emptied, luxury retail went quiet. Suddenly the math that made sense in November looked ambitious by spring. Tiffany's reliance on tourists and flagships became a liability overnight. LVMH signaled that conditions had changed. Tiffany pointed to the contract and said the deal should close. Headlines framed it as romance gone cold. Lawyers framed it as a question of obligations under extraordinary events. So both sides did what sophisticated players do. They fought on paper while signaling in public. Tiffany emphasized resilience. The brand had survived wars and recessions. It would survive this. LVMH emphasized discipline. Price is not pride. Price is strategy. If you overpay for an icon, you might win the headline and lose the decade. Bankers on both sides rebuilt models for a pandemic world. Slower travel, different foot traffic, more online, a need to refresh stores and product lines. Courtrooms became a stage. Delaware filings, press releases, and carefully chosen phrases did the work of negotiation by other means. But beneath the theater sat a simple question. What price leaves enough oxygen to invest after closing? A good acquisition doesn't end with a handshake. Eventually the standoff ended where many high-stakes deals end, a renegotiation. The price came down. The thesis stayed the same. Tiffany would join LVMH not as a trophy to be protected under glass, but as a platform to be rebuilt in motion. What happened next is the part of M&A that rarely makes the headline. Operators moved in, people who understand both craft and speed. The mandate was simple: sharpen the brand, simplify the offer, and make stores into experiences, not just boxes with glass. Flagships were rethought as theater, where the product is the star and the service is choreography. There was also the quiet work, the plumbing no one sees, better inventory discipline, faster creative cycles, improvements to e-commerce and service that make buying feel like a celebration whether you walk in or check out on your phone, the kind of details that don't trend on social, but change how often customers return. For Tiffany, the payoff was permission to invest, new creative direction. Refresh stores that feel contemporary without losing the ritual. For LVMH, the payoff was portfolio shape. Watches and jewelry become a second engine beside fashion and leather. Zoom out and the lesson travels beyond luxury. In any downturn, good assets don't stop being good. They get mispriced by fear, starved by short-term thinking, or trapped by owners who cannot invest. Tiffany's blue box still makes hearts race. The difference is that now the box points forward. The store feels like a promise, not a museum. And the owner didn't just close a deal, the owner reopened a future. If you're building anything, steal the playbook. First, price with the next chapter in mind. Pay the number that lets you invest after the confetti falls. Second, make momentum. Third, remember that negotiations don't end when you sign. They end when both sides can win for a decade. That's how headlines become franchises. That's how icons get their shine back.